The exploration vessel Elithra's Grace drifted in the dead expanse between mapped systems. Its engines dark and its navigation core bleeding corrupted data into empty space. The crew had not panicked at first, because panic was unproductive, and because the void species prided themselves on preparation. They were scholars and cartographers, not soldiers, sent by the Concord to chart stable corridors for future trade routes. Yet preparation meant little when a spatial shear collapsed behind them without warning, folding their return vector into static. Within minutes they were lost. Not merely off course, but erased from known stellar geography. Captain Sorolith studied the halamap in silence as star after star blinked out of recognized configuration. This region had no name, no trade lanes, and no rescue beacons. Even automated distress calls dissolved into interference, swallowed by an ion storm that stretched for light years. The crew began to understand the deeper danger. They were not just stranded, they were invisible. Days passed with careful rationing and constant system checks. Then the first power relay failed, then the second. Each failure narrowed their options, forcing impossible choices between life support, stability, and propulsion readiness. The ship could move, or the crew could breathe easily, not both for long. The Concorde's emergency protocols offered a final option: broadcast a universal distress, call on open frequencies, even those reserved for unknown civilizations. It was a desperate measure, forbidden under most circumstances. Unknown species could be hostile, exploitative, or worse. But extinction made policy irrelevant. When the signal was transmitted, it felt like shouting into a cosmic grave. The message repeated in layered harmonic tones, translating itself into every known mathematical language. Lost vessel requesting aid. Non-hostile. Critical systems failing. Then they waited. Hours passed without reply. Then days. The crew gathered less often in common areas, conserving energy and hope in equal measure. Some whispered about ancient myths, of predator species that roamed beyond mapped space. Others feared no one would ever hear them. On the seventh day, the senses flickered. A mass signature appeared briefly, then vanished. Too large for an asteroid, too structured for a natural anomaly. Captain Sorolith felt a chill ripple through her frills. Something was out there. The signal returned again, stronger this time. Not a response, but a scan. Powerful, precise, deliberate. Whoever it was, they were listening. The scan repeated, sweeping across the Elithra's Grace with unsettling thoroughness. It pierced shielding layers the Concorde believed opaque to foreign technology, medical readings, power output, crew life signs, all mapped in seconds. The bridge fell silent. As realization settled like gravity, this was not a scavenger or a drifter. Then the response arrived. Not gobbled, not delayed, but clean and immediate. Unknown vessel. This is United Terra Navy Warship Resolute. Your distress signal has been received and authenticated. Remain on current vector. Assistance inbound. The words processed slowly across translation matrices. Terran human. A species spoken of mostly in outdated archives and speculative threat assessments. They were known as volatile, territorial, and intensely protective of their own. Few Concorde ships had encountered them directly. Captain Sorolith steadied herself and replied, "This is exploration vessel Elithra's Grace. Systems failing. Crew non-combatant. We acknowledge your response and request aid." There was no pause, no consultation heard, no demand for concessions. "Acknowledged," came the reply. "Hold position. We are coming to you." Moments later, space itself seemed to bend. A tear of blue-white light split the darkness as a massive shape forced its way into real space. The human warship dwarfed the Elithra's Grace, its hull bristling with weapon emplacements and layered armor. Energy readings spiked far beyond anything in Concorde databases, yet its weapons remained cold. The Resolute moved with controlled restraint, positioning itself protectively between the stranded vessel and the unknown void beyond. Tractor fields extended gently, stabilizing the damaged ship without strain. A voice returned on open channel, calmer now, almost reassuring. "Your life support degradation is critical. We are initiating emergency power transfer and preparing medical teams. Do not be alarmed by the scale of our presence. You are safe." The crew of the Elithra's Grace exchanged stunned glances. No demands, no interrogation, no hesitation, just action. As human engineers began reinforcing failing systems remotely, Captain Sorolith realized something profound. They had expected a negotiation. Instead, they had found guardians. Docking clamps, locked with surgical precision as atmosphere stabilized across the transfer corridor. The first humans the crew saw wore armored suits, marked not with symbols of conquest, but with rescue insignia. Their movements were efficient, practiced, and careful. They spoke little, but when they did, their voices carried steady confidence. Medical officers immediately attended to the weakest crew members. Human technology adapted to alien biology with startling speed. Scanners recalibrated on the fly, synthesizing compatible treatments without complaint or delay. One human medic noticed Captain Sorlith watching and inclined his head respectfully. "You're doing well, Captain," he said. "We've got you now." The interior of the Resolute was nothing like Concorde vessels, where alien ships favored organic curves in ambient lighting. The human warship was angular, reinforced, unapologetically functional. Every corridor spoke of endurance, of battles survived, and preparedness, refined through hardship. This was not a ship built for exploration. It was built to arrive where it was needed and endure anything it found there. In the command center, Captain Marcus Hole stood as Sorlith was escorted in. He removed his helmet, revealing tired eyes, and a face lined with responsibility rather than age. "Welcome aboard," he said. "You drifted into a region most avoid." Sorlith bowed her head slightly. "We believed no one would answer." Hole allowed a faint smile. "Humans have a saying," he replied. "If someone calls for help and we hear it, we answer." She asked why, cautiously. Why respond so quickly? Without knowing who we were, Hale did not hesitate. "Because you were lost, because you asked. Because once, we were alone out here too." He gestured toward the stars beyond the viewport. "Deep space doesn't care who you are. We do," as repairs continued. The Resolute remained on station, its weapon systems monitoring unseen threats beyond sensor range. Human crews rotated in silent readiness, not expecting danger, but prepared for it. The Void Species crew began to understand the reputation humans carried, not conquerors by nature, but responders. Not seekers of dominance, but of responsibility. The warning came without ceremony. Long-range sensors detected multiple mass signatures emerging from subspace. Unidentified vessels, heavily armed, moving fast. The region was not empty after all. Captain Hale's posture changed instantly. Red alerts echoed softly through the Resolute, controlled and measured. He turned to Sorlith. "These aren't rescue ships," he said. "They hunt stranded vessels." The Void Species crew felt fear surge anew. They had been saved only to be found again. But the human response was immediate and decisive. "All hands to combat readiness," Hole ordered. "Bring shields to full, prep defensive screen. No hesitation, no panic, only purpose." The Resolute repositioned, placing itself fully between the incoming threat and the vulnerable exploration ship. Weapon systems powered up, not aggressively, but inevitably. When the hostile vessels broadcast demands for surrender, Hale cut the channel. "They had their chance to leave," he said quietly. "They chose otherwise." The battle was brief and overwhelming. Human technology unleashed precise, devastating force, disabling enemy ships with controlled bursts that left little room for retaliation. The attackers never breached the defensive perimeter. Within minutes, space fell silent again. Captain Sorlith watched from the observation deck, awed and unsettled. The humans had fought not for territory, not for gain, but simply because someone under their protection was threatened. When the last hostile signal faded, Hale turned back to her. "You're safe," he repeated. "No qualifiers, no conditions, asterisk with repairs complete, and navigation restored." The Illithris Grace prepared to depart under escort. Coordinates were shared, corridors mapped, warnings logged for the Concorde. But something deeper had changed. Before separation, Captain Sorlith addressed the human crew. "We will tell the galaxy what happened here," she said. "That when we were lost beyond hope, humans answered without hesitation." Hale nodded. "Just make sure they understand one thing. If it happens again, we'll answer again." As the ships parted ways, the Void Species vessel re-entered known space. No longer alone, no longer unaware. And across the stars, a quiet truth began to spread. In the darkness between worlds, if you are lost, if you call, human warships will answer.